Don't know what's going on with my hair. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Thanks for checking out another podcast. Thank you for coming back. I'm holding a hairbrush. I don't know why. Comb, over to you.
So this is episode 45. We spoke to Dave Beatty. Dave Beatty is random photographer that we speak to on Instagram. I think that's fair. But he is, like many of us, hobbyist photographer. Shoots a lot on film. And we just really liked the work that he was doing, and he put out a zine of kind of lockdown slash just stuff that he was shooting at the time. His life had changed a lot. He'd become a parent, left Brighton and moved to Manchester, thereabouts, and was shooting a lot of different stuff, so kind of documented it in this zine. And it's a mixture of like family and landscape, I guess, but like it's what he was shooting in this like condensed period of time, and kind of like bracketed by COVID and the COVID restrictions that were in place at the time. And they're just, like it's really beautiful work, and it was really interesting, so we wanted to talk to him about it.
I guess it was a project that he worked on that many of us kind of thought about doing, but he actually did it. He kind of documented his life and outgoings during the lockdown period and decided to put a zine together. But kind of wish I would have done the same, I guess. But I guess that's the point of it, that he's put this body of work together and it's really enjoyable to kind of look through.
Yeah, so if you are listening to this, I mean, it's probably the best thing you'll have ever listened to, but if you should really watch it, because we talk a lot about the images, obviously, and you won't be able to see any of them if you don't watch it, other than when we spoke to him, which was a couple of months ago now, probably. He did say he still has some copies of the zine left, so if you want one, you can hit him up on Instagram. And his link to his account is in the description, and you should totally do that.
For now, enjoy the rest of the episode. Stick around with what we're working on here at Front. Front is going to be a digital platform where you can create a profile, upload the best work that you've got, and sell that in print form. We'll deal with all the printing, the packaging, and the posting, send it off to your customers, and you can concentrate on the good part, which is just going out and taking those photos and enjoying yourself. So stick around. Obviously, there's going to be loads more features than that. We will be launching real soon. If you haven't already, think about registering to our mailing list. There'll be a link in the description again. That is, it lets us gauge how many people are going to be on the platform when we do actually launch. There is a free version and a pro version. If you are registered to the mailing list, you'll have a one-off, once in a lifetime opportunity to get Front Pro at a discounted price. After we initially launch, there won't be any more discounts. So the only way to actually get that offer is to be registered to the mailing list. Thanks for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have already registered to the mailing list. We really do appreciate it. And stay up to date with what we do over on our Instagram account. Again, there'll be a link down below. But for now, enjoy the podcast. Drum roll, please. Cool. Well, welcome back to another deep dive episode. This might even be the first one. No, we'll have another one out before this, I think.
Yeah.
And we are here with Dave Beatty, aka Beatty Photo, BEATTYFOTO. Welcome.
Hi guys. Hi Jamie. Hi Luke. Yeah, thanks for chatting to me.
Thanks for your time, mate. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for sending us a copy of your zine. This is what we're here to talk about.
Cool.
I wanted to ask you how to pronounce it. I know we've already spoken. I was going to say Refuges, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I think I made the word up actually, but it's Refuges. So it's kind of about a refuge, like the plural of refuge. So a refuge, as in somewhere that you sort of take. You know, you take shelter from, and it's the plural of that. But I kind of looked it up after I'd actually even designed it and sent the designs off. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder what that word is. Couldn't find it. I was like, oh Christ, I've made it up. But yeah,
I like it. But kind of is refuge. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he got refuges in his son and his wife.
I like that because it was like
Yeah, it's like
You've got more than one.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, like we can talk about it, but it's kind of it's a dual thing. So one is it's the refuge that I take in my family, and the refuge that I also take from my family.
Yeah,
That's kind of that from my perspective, that was the kind of dual nature of it.
Yeah.
So effectively, this scene is about your kind of lockdown experience, and there's been a lot of changes in your own personal life, which we'll talk about briefly in a moment. But before we get into the actual zine itself, just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into photography, what you enjoy shooting.
Cool. I'm Dave. Yeah, I'm a photographer. I live in the northwest of England, just outside of Manchester. I'm not from there, as you can probably tell by my accent. I'm from Brighton, but I moved up here a couple of years ago to be with my wife's family. I've got a young son, which if you've seen any of my photos on Instagram, you'll probably be aware of. I'm actually relatively new to photography. I think I started about 5 years ago. So I actually got a job working for a company called mpb.com, which is like a second-hand retailer. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, some people might have heard of them. They're actually quite big.
My bank account a few times for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they're pretty big. If you're into cheaper camera equipment, they're good to go. So I got a job as a marketing analyst for them. I knew nothing about cameras at all, but I had to learn all about cameras, like what different people were buying, what lenses went with what was in fashion, what wasn't. And everyone who worked there was massively into photography. So it was like impossible not to get into it, just like being absolutely surrounded by it all the time. And also having access to the entire inventory of a camera shop, like all the time, just being able to like try stuff out was incredible. So I picked up a Fuji X100. That was like my first camera. Stayed with the Fuji system for a while. And then like in a sort of classic move, like my wife's cousin was like, "Oh, I've got this old film camera. Do you want to try it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." It was like a Canon AE1. But honestly, the first time I shot it, I was like, "Oh wow, this is so cool and like tactile and sort of tangible, like the kind of crunch of advancing the film." I mean, it's such a cliche talking about it, but I was like, "Wow, this is really awesome." Obviously I got my film back and everything was like dire and terrible and out of focus. But I kind of stuck with it. I was just taking pictures of stuff. I had a little Instagram account, and I started, to be honest, enjoying shooting film more and more, and I enjoyed the actual act of shooting digital cameras less and less. I just got more connected to the way film kind of looked. And then for ages I had both film and digital, and then I ended up just realizing I'd not touched my digital camera for like a year and a half. I was like, oh, I could do with a few £100. Obviously working for MPB, I was like, oh, I can just sell it. So yeah.
So you gave yourself a 5-star rating there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So then I just like fully got into film. And then it was really in lockdown where there really was nothing else to do. So I living up outside Manchester. That was where the restrictions were the strictest for the longest period of time. So there was like the regional restriction from kind of October 2021. And then when it was in the tier system, it was like straight into tier 3, and then it was like the national lockdown. So whereas so it was like for a long period of time, it was like illegal to leave my house anywhere that was further than like a 30-minute drive away. I think it was like a 10-mile radius or something. So I pretty much had nothing to do except walk around and take pictures of things. It was like the only reason to sort of leave the house, really, other than go to the shops.
And did you during this time, so this is obviously a transition into you now creating your zine, i.e. the Refuge zine itself. But were you aware that you were going to make a project like this, or during lockdown was it more the case that you were just collecting photos? You know, you were taking photos as much as you can, like you were before COVID and during COVID, or before lockdown and after lockdown, whatever it might be. But then you realised that you had this kind of body of work with something to do with.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, so actually, I started working with a lady called Marina, who you might know. She actually runs the lab at Analog Wonderland. Yeah, Marina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the If We Film thing. Yeah, so I started working with her as like a photography mentor. She does this mentorship.
Yeah.
So I actually started working with her just because I felt a bit stuck in a rut in terms of like what I was doing, because I was just taking pictures of like my streets and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the exercises that she kind of went through was to kind of shoot a roll of film over a month or something. And then we went through the photos, and actually what I noticed was this kind of like dual subject matter, where one was like all these like intimate photos of my family, because that was what most of my life was. And then on the other side were these kind of like quite sparse sort of like desolate views of the countryside, where I'd like go out on these walks, and it was like there was like looking for themes. There were actually these kind of like dual themes that were emerging, and it wasn't that I was like trying to seek either of those things out, but it's like these kind of things were there. And I thought, you know, like talking with her, I was like, oh, I could kind of lean into this actually, and I could explore like why is it I keep taking pictures that look like that and look like this, like what's actually going on there that's drawing my eye to this. And so part of the book, I guess, was leaning into that and then exploring that a bit more.
Yeah, that's great, because I think the photos in the actual zine itself, as a collection of work, they're really powerful. And how you've laid the zine out itself, you know, without giving too much away, because you should definitely buy one. But you've got, you know, you've got the section about, you know, your son, the section about your wife. Is it wife or partner?
Yeah, wife.
Yeah, so you've got the section about your wife, then you've got the section about both of them, which again, it's not like just photos of both of them together. It's kind of, it portrays your kind of feeling towards them, I feel like. And then on top of that, you kind of end it with a nice, you know, you've called it your section, but your section is more about the photos that you've taken, not necessarily photos of just you, right? Or you and the family.
Right. Yeah.
And it kind of, even though it's, you know, how many photos are in there in total?
I think there's about 30. There's 36 pages, so I think there's maybe like 24 images or something. Yeah.
So even though there's only, say, you know, 25 photos, give or take, it's kind of broken down really nice into these 4 sections, but still collectively they're the building blocks that all kind of work together. And I think that's it's got a really nice flow to it. And again, like, it's nice for a kind of consumer to have a look through it and see that kind of like a little bit of an insight to kind of your life, but it's also really relatable because we all kind of went through that, right? In our own aspects, we were all in lockdown. We were all trying to kind of stay sane and try and be there for others. But on top of that, you kind of moved away as well, right? So you had this kind of new place to kind of deal with. It was a new time in your life with your son being born, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was this period of like massive change. I don't like so in 2019, back in the before times,
the past.
Yeah, I was living in Brighton with my wife, and then in mid 2019 my son was born, and then in early 2020 the coronavirus hit. We decided to move up in that kind of like break in the restrictions in the summer of 2020. We decided to move. We were kind of deciding to do that anyway, but we decided to just go for it then, because, you know, my wife wasn't at work at the time, having just had a kid and stuff. So logistically it worked. And then, there was like the additional lockdown, and then the bleakest winter that anyone's ever experienced in England. And then we moved. We bought a house, and I'd sort of got to this point where everything was opening up again, and I was like, you know, not to. Well, I guess I was like, well, who am I? Because I can't even remember. Like, so much has changed. I've moved across the country. I'm now a father. I'm like, I live in a different place. Like, I don't know anyone around here, and obviously, like, these are things that I voluntarily did. I'm not like moaning in
it's
terms
exciting
of that,
and scary.
Exactly. But I guess there was like this point where I was like, it's almost like I took stock, and I was like, hang on, what's just happened, and what's going on? So I guess this book in a way was me sort of coming to terms with that. I guess part of it's easy, you know, making a zine is quite interesting, because I guess part of me could say, well, who am I to be talking about my experience when, as you rightly say, everyone's had this kind of experience. But I guess that's kind of it, isn't it? Because I'm not really talking about everyone's experience. I'm just talking about my experience. And if there's something that someone can relate to, if there's like a thread that someone can relate to in any of that, then that's fantastic. And if they can't, then that's cool as well.
Yeah. I think it's very relatable because it reminds everyone of their time during lockdown. But personally, from you as well, to show, to look back on this in, 5, 10, 20 years is awesome. And it'd be really interesting. I don't know if you've already kind of thought about this, but to see like a chapter 2 almost. Do you know what I mean? Like when life's got a little bit more settled, or, a period of time where, maybe your son's a little bit older, that kind of thing. And just to see the kind of contrast, because, you might have photos that are, not one of them might be in your house, do you know what I mean, for argument's sake, or maybe they all are, but life looks very different, do you know what I mean? So it'd be awesome to see that kind of journey. And that, like, again, from someone who's picking up the book and having a look through the photos, that's what I think as well, do you know what I mean? So not only am I thinking about your photography, but I'm thinking about, your journey that also relates to my journey, even though they're different.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, that's really nice to hear. So thanks.
Like in terms of like the layout of the actual zine itself, it's really nice. Like the photos are really good quality. So is everything in here shot on film or digital?
Yeah. All shot on my trusty Nikon FM2.
Awesome.
And it's all shot. So it's all shot on the same camera, on the same film stock, which is HP5.
Yeah.
It was either pushed to 1600 or 800.
Oh wow.
Because I needed these like interior shots, so I needed like the flexibility. And I developed it all myself and scanned it all myself.
Yeah.
And edited it all.
It's a nice project to do.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like the full loop sort of. So I went through like the whole thing. So yeah, that was a really cool like extra bit. But I didn't do that like. That's just part of my kind of photography hobby anyway, is like all the developing and the scanning. So
it's a really satisfying process, I think. I don't like scanning, but I like developing film.
Scanning's okay.
I'm the opposite way around. I hate the developing, but I love scanning because I sit here for a few hours, I get to see my results. I don't mind scanning, I don't mind putting that time aside to do it.
First time I did it, I was like, there's no way this is going to work. It did, and still I've been doing it now for like a year and a half, I think, and I'm still like, wow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I still shit myself every time I do it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
It's horrible. Like I'm now confident that
I've cocked it up a few times. Yeah,
like I'm always confident that there will now be a result. Like that's what I used to worry about the most. But what I'm more worried about now is like, folding the film stock, or like, do you know what I mean, like denting it, scratching it, and it not being as good as it could be if I got
absolutely. But to be honest, man, like I think that is something that I think I have had to learn to make peace with self-developing, in that there will be scratches and stuff. There's stuff that you can't control, like dust on the felt of the thing can just scratch it slightly. There's stuff that you just can't get rid of. Although I will say I've got way better at using Photoshop to get rid of like dust marks since doing this book. Honestly, I feel like you would not believe the amount of dust that I had to remove from all of those images.
Yeah. See, this is what makes me laugh. People always say, you should use this camera or this lens or this film. But really, like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, let's take HP5 for argument's sake. Not pushed, not pushed just for this sake of argument. If we all shot the same kind of thing on the same kind of day, we'd all develop it differently and we'd all scan it in differently. And me and Luke have been talking about this recently. We'll probably be a video coming out soon about it, but you've got to take in every single kind of, step along the journey into consideration to get this.
Absolutely.
How you scan it, and then how you edit
it as well, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's so easy to get into like the paralysis of like what film and what developer, and that's kind of the good thing about that. But it can also be the thing that's almost a barrier in a way, because there's so much choice. You don't even know. You don't even know what to do.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Let's go back to this then. So now let's talk a little bit specifically about some of the photos that kind of stand out, I guess, to the three of us. So we've all picked we've all picked a favourite, I guess.
Okay.
But just, you know, if you're watching this, all the photos are really, really nice, really good quality, really nice grain to them. But who wants to go first?
You go first.
All right. So the photo that I've chose that I really like is this one. I'm sure it'll go on the screen.
Legend.
But the reason I like this, I haven't got any children, right? But I took a similar photo in my house of my missus, and she was I think she was like painting on our kind of dining table, and my dog was in the background. But it just had this similar. I saw that, and it instantly reminded me of the photo that I'd taken. And
it
was during lockdown, and it just reminded me of, like, again, trying to keep sane during lockdown. And I just think this photo, the more I look at it, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful photo in terms of like the quality and, you know, the lighting in it and stuff. But to capture that kind of moment, something simple like eating breakfast or lunch or whatever it might be, it's just a nice photo. That's all. That's why.
Oh, thanks, man.
Thanks. But I don't know if I don't know if that you remember that day in particular, or.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's that was one of the first ones actually from that first roll of film. And the interesting thing about that is that photo actually took a lot of work to get out, because it was like mega overexposed. There was something wrong with my camera's light meter at the time, and the whole roll of film came out like really exposed. So actually, of all the photos, that's like probably one of the worst in terms of like the exposure. Like a lot of details actually lost on my son's face.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't even matter. It's so easy to get hung up on the technical stuff. But actually, I really like. For me, it's just such this great moment. I don't know. They're just sort of looking at each other. It's just this like glance where his little face is sort of turned up to her, and she's looking down at him. They're both eating toast. I don't know. There's just something simple in it. And I guess for me, you know, with the two people that I love the most in that photo, it's just, for me, it just sort of really captures a particular mood.
Yeah.
You'd never know as well that the exposure wasn't right looking at it. Like as the end result, there's no way that you'd be able to tell that. So
I think, like you said, it just captures that. Captures a nice moment within the household that you will look at and cherish. Like, again, you know, as you said, yeah, you know, if you're in a studio getting paid hundreds of pounds to take someone's portrait, I'd get that you want to be more specific with the lighting, and so on and so forth. But that's the beauty of photography, right? If you capture a moment.
Exactly. And I think that's like part of the process is sort of being able to understand the importance of the actual image itself, and separating like the idea of sort of technical perfection or getting too hung up on like what you want to do with it. Actually looking at what's been produced and just reflecting on that and taking the value that gives back to you, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a good one as well. Like I like it just compositionally, that you've got the kind of plants in the foreground and then over to the other side as well. And it's kind of wide angle that you might, I don't know what sort of lenses you shoot with or anything, but it seems like quite a wide thing, which I don't know.
Yeah. It was actually with a 50mm, so it's actually not like super wide, but it's just, I've got an open plan like lounge and diner, so I'm like
200 meter,
it's just like my huge house, you know, like it's just so big. That's actually a 500mm lens. No, it's just basically that's often where I you know, like that particular view is an exact view that I've seen day after day, whatever, you know, like for that, like that's interesting that stuck out to you, because for me that's something that I see a lot of value, but it means a lot to me just because that's such a sort of like familiar scene for me. But it's just really, it's so interesting to see how other people see that and what meaning they take from it.
Well, like I said, when it reminded me of the photo that I took, mate, I was up against my window, like
I know what you mean, like leaning back as hard as you can.
But I can definitely relate to it. But yeah, it's a beautiful photo. Luke, what's your one?
Yeah, I think your wife's giving your son a haircut. I could tell immediately it was shot on film, and I just kind of really like the fact that you managed to get that shot without shooting digitally. I love photos of that kind of angle, and like that kind of, it feels quite intimate. It's quite like everything's happening quite close together, but also similarly to Jamie, it's reminded me of like giving our kids haircuts during lockdown and how much of a fun
laugh at yeah exactly right.
I mean, I suppose we would kind of do that a bit anyway, but our son had just gotten to the age where he didn't need us to, well, we could take him for a haircut, and then obviously we had to stop doing that again. So doing all that kind of thing, but it's a very like lockdown activity, isn't it? Haircuts, for sure. But it's just I love the kind of the angle that's been taken at, and like the way that it's framed and everything. It's just it's a great photo.
And it's a personal photo as well, isn't it? Like,
thanks.
You know, so many people would take a photo after the haircut. Oh, give us a smile, when really you'd have that photo every time. But to get that kind of, action kind of shot, if you like.
Yeah, thanks.
And the lighting on your where's it gone? The lighting on your son's face is beautiful. Like just and it kind of leads you towards what's going on. It's really nice.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks, Luke. Yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorites. I think that shot. I think, so the lighting, the texture of the film grain, and the way it sort of all comes together, and you can. It's like my son's face is like so neutral, and then you can see like my wife in the background, like really trying to like she's kind of out of focus. Because I had to, it's like all these are shot almost all wide open, because shooting film indoors is really tricky. Even pushing it, it's really tricky to actually get like a shot. So with that one, I literally had to, obviously he's 2 years old, so he's really small. So I had to like literally lie on the floor, like right underneath his nose and focus it. So it came out absolutely perfect. I'm really proud of it.
That's nice. I think it reminded me again similarly of like I had some Delta, 3200. I had a few shots left, and it was Christmas, and so when we were doing the Christmas tree, I took a few photos of the kids putting the lights up, and it was good because there was a little bit of extra light and stuff like that. But it had that similar kind of, had to like get in close to be able to capture that bit of light and stuff like that. But it just reminded me of that sort of thing.
Thanks.
And what about you, Dave? What's yours? What's the one that stands out to you? I mean, they'll all stand out, right? But what's one of your most favourite?
I think the one that I like is the one of my son. It's like a profile of my son looking forward. It's one of the earlier ones, and he's like lying down.
Mate, that is so nice, and I'm so glad that you did this on a 2-page full, no border around it.
That was quite a sort of like a strong choice. I tried to play like in creating the zine. It's interesting because I was like sort of trying not to make it just too repetitive of just like image. So, but that image I really like. I think it just sort of captures his sort of like face really perfectly. One thing that I didn't realize that I was doing as well, if you look at it, there's a dark sofa or a chair behind him, but right behind his face. And the effect of it is he's got a really strong outline of his face. So it really, really highlights it because it's like against this sort of dark background. And that was like, I hadn't thought about that when I was taking the photo, but actually the effect of it really sort of like pronounces the kind of portrait of it.
It's almost like you couldn't plan that because with how kids are and taking photos.
Exactly. No way, no.
So I did. When I saw that photo originally, I did pick up on that. There's a very strong, profile, the kind of the shape of the mouth and the nose and everything, but I hadn't noticed that that's why it was. That's a really good point.
I think as well, it's like that, like, not knocking any of the photos in here, but we've all taken like series of photos and you've put them together in a collection, whether it be a zine or just for personal use or Instagram, whatever it might be. But there's certain photos that will always kind of stand out, and I think that one there is the sort of one that you would get printed. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
You could have that on your wall. It's like, you know, it's got that kind of vibe to it. Do you know what I mean? Like you could have
Yeah, absolutely.
a beautiful photo, regardless, you know, it's kind of like a timeless photo, even though, you know, clearly your son's a certain age, but you can always look at that and appreciate it. Where the other photo, again, with all the other photos, they work really, really well together as a collection, so you can pick up and always cherish. But that is a standalone piece.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably either that or, to be honest, the hair cutting one that you picked up on. But yeah, those two are probably my favorite. But as you say, it's really difficult when I've created a zine. It's all like I had to work so hard to get it down. I think the project that I did, I shot 4 rolls of film, and then got that down to just like 20, 23 or 24 images. So there's a lot of, it's actually much harder than you would think to sort of like try and pick your favorites. So I'd sort of decided I shot them over the course of about two and a half months.
Okay, that's nice. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
And I really like the landscapes as well, because is that in the Peak District? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
beautiful. Like I've only been to the Peak District a handful of times, but me personally, I always look. The only reason I've only been there a handful of times is because it's a bit of a drive to get there, if you know what I mean. But personally, that's the sort of thing that I like to walk around, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I always take photos, you know, digital or film, and I'm never that happy with them, if you know what I mean. I'm kind of overly critical about them. But some of the photos there are really nice, especially the one looking over I think it's like a lake or something. But yeah, really, really nice.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No worries.
Again. Oh, no, I won't say that now. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Say that off camera. But yeah, it's honestly been awesome to talk to you about the zine. Have you still got some for sale?
Yeah, I've got a few left. I do have a few left. So I guess if people are interested, just DM me on Instagram. I don't have like an e-shop or anything, so it would have to be just like sent out. But yeah, that'd be really cool. I'm happy to share them. So. Awesome. Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, I'm gonna stay on I've got like a bookshelf, and then I've got I was going to say a bookshelf then, but I've got
a zine shelf. Yeah,
but it's like one where you can sit it, and it kind of, you can see the front rather than stack it like.
That's the thing.
Like one of those small shelves, and that's where it sits in my living room on view. So yeah, it's definitely stay there for for a long time. And yeah, by the way, awesome front cover.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, great,
cheers.
Great.
Yeah, like, classic mirror selfie.
Yeah, but
there's not really many of me in that, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's used in the right way because it's so personal. And again, I'd always encourage people to make projects like this, regardless if you think it's shit in the future or not.
Mate.
It's awesome to always pick it to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Do it for yourself, and then everyone else will see the passion in it.
Absolutely. And I think to add to that, I think doing this was just so valuable for me as a photographer, but even as a person and as a father, you know, all of that, just being able to reflect on that and to go through this process of really thinking about why I'm taking these images, to put them together into a narrative, even to assemble it in my own mind, to then put it on paper. It's a really powerful exercise. And you know, I don't think that you have to do something really personal or really profound to make a zine. It can be about anything. But I think just the process of getting something down on paper, or like actually getting a print of something, or actually having something tangible in your hand, is something that's really valuable. And it's really easy to be a photographer for years and never print anything, or never make anything. You just have it all on Instagram or Flickr or whatever you want to do stuff, or you can have your own website. But actually to just make a small piece of work, curate it, and then have it printed, and then to hold it, to watch people look at it themselves, is just amazing. And it's not that expensive. I think making a photo book is really expensive. That's a big undertaking. But making a zine, it's self-published. I think it cost me about £50 to get like 40 copies done or something. It's really not. It's not that expensive, all in all. So yeah.
And even if you only make one, do you know what I mean? Do it for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it to friends and family, whoever it is.
Yeah.
It would be important.
Just like, I think I recommend that anyone has a go and does it. It's such a great thing to do.
Thank you to Dave. That was a lovely chat. This is a new thing we're trying. We're going to do a little outro because the podcast always ends really abruptly, and it's weird. So thanks for watching that. Hope you enjoyed that chat with Dave and you enjoyed his pictures, and yeah, hit him up for a copy of the zine and stuff like that. But we were just thinking, like, what can we do as an outro? And I want to recommend a film. Maybe we'll do this more regularly, but I just watched a film called Paris 13th District, and it's black and white film from like last year, I think. And it's really beautifully shot, and it really inspired me to go out and shoot some black and white images, which I don't really do often, but it gave me some inspiration for doing that. Also, like, it was written by Celine Sciamma, who is objectively like the greatest living film director alive at the moment. That's not opinion, it's just fact. And yeah, you should go and check it out. I'll put a link, like, it's on Mubi, which you can sign up for free. We're not sponsored by them, but we totally should be after this.
Thanks, Mubi. Yeah, reach out to us.
And yeah, because I'm quite pretentious, I like to watch a lot of like world cinema. Essentially, it's like, is it in English? I'm not really interested. Is it in another language? That'll do. I'll watch it. And especially if it's black and white and French, then like I'm all in. But yeah, it's a really great film. So yeah,
Let us know what you think. If you have watched it, if you haven't watched it, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think of it. But for now, thank you for checking out this podcast episode. If you did like it, think about subscribing to our YouTube channel or following us on Spotify or SoundCloud or wherever the hell you're listening to this or watching this. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you. Bye. Drum roll, please, again. I don't know. Out. We're out.